All right, everyone, this is my presentation on the different membrane transport mechanisms that allow substances to get through a membrane. The first one is filtration. Please ignore the fact that I'm a terrible artist, but so this is an example of filtration, which hydrostatic pressure, just water pressure, pushes the particles through. This does not require ATP. This is a form of passive transport. Pushes the water molecules through the membrane. Simple diffusion, which is the movement of particles through a concentration of high to low. One example that was given was putting red dye in a water bowl and it turns it kind of pink. So it's just pushing through, also passive. This is an example of osmosis, which is basically simple diffusion, but for water. It's the same principle. We have a high concentration here. The high concentration pushes it through, and eventually it's going to be evened out. So this is facilitated diffusion. This is another example of passive, it doesn't require ATP, passive membrane mechanism, and what happens is it's basically simple diffusion, but it's through a membrane protein. The particle or molecule, whatever is being absorbed, goes through, goes into the channel protein, and goes into the cell from the EFC into the extracellular fluid to the intracellular fluid. Active transport is the first one that actually does require ATP. It's essentially the same thing, but it requires ATP. So it's movement of a substance through a protein from an area of low concentration to an area of higher concentration. I know I should have more dots here, but because of it's going from low to high, it requires more energy. Hence the reason ATP is involved. And then we have vesicular transport. So we know vesicles are those little dots that have different things in them. So it uses used to move large molecules across the membrane. So what it does is, this is specifically endocytosis, where the vesicles get absorbed, gets basically its own little movement, its own little vehicle, and pulled in. And that's an example. And then the reverse happens, that's exocytosis. So endo in, exo out. And this does require ATP as well.